Hello, boxing fans. Today we'll analyze a fighter who capitalizes on mistakes in one of the most devastating ways possible. Let's break down how Gervonta Davis repeatedly turns small habits into fight-ending knockouts. Every trap starts with a read, and reads rarely come from the moments people actually remember. They come from the parts of a fight most viewers skip past entirely. Take the opening round against Ryan Garcia. Davis throws almost nothing. At first, that looks like caution. It isn't. He's clocking Garcia's rhythm, how he sets his feet before committing to a punch, how fast his hands reset once he throws one. Nothing in that round is designed to hurt Garcia. Against Santa Cruz, the read is easier to spot once you know what to look for. Here's the interesting part. That's not incidental. It's the exact approach that carried him across 4 different weight classes, which means Davis isn't hoping it shows up again. He already knows it will. Frank Martin is the harder read of the 4, because on the surface, it doesn't look like Davis is reading anything at all. Martin uses small pivots off his own jab to build angles. It's a real functional skill. And before Davis can take it away, he has to understand exactly how it works. And against Mario Barrios, the read starts as a problem before it ever becomes a plan. Barrios is taller, longer. His jab is doing exactly what a jab is supposed to do, keeping a shorter man exactly where his power stops mattering. Now ask yourself why Davis doesn't just try to force his way through it. Because forcing his way through it would mean skipping the one step that makes everything after it possible. Red by itself doesn't mean much yet. Davis has to prove it whole, not once, but across round, before he trusts it enough to build anything on top of it. After the knockdown in round 2 against Garcia, Davis doesn't chase the finish. He watches instead. Garcia's guard comes up higher, tighter to the chin that just got hit. Notice what happens next. That's not a single reflex anymore. That's a habit Davis can set a clock to. Against Santa Cruz, tracking looks almost invisible, because none of it looks like strategy from ringside. Davis is simply timing how long each entry takes and how low Santa Cruz's head drops on the way in, without changing anything himself yet. He isn't solving the pattern, he's confirming it repeats. With Martin, the tracking phase stretches even further because the early rounds are competitive enough to look like a slow night rather than a plan. But there's a problem with that read. He's watching Martin's jab timing and footwork fully develop, letting it happen uninterrupted. A pattern that hasn't fully formed yet can't be trusted. And with Barrios, tracking is the entire first third of the fight. 4 rounds where Davis isn't trying to beat the jab at all. He's counting it. How often it fired, how far Barrios leans into it, what his balance looks like in the half second after he throws. None of that wins round, but it wins what comes after them. Test. Tracking tells Davis what a fighter usually does. Testing tells him whether that habit survives something it hasn't seen before. This is where the Frank Martin fight becomes the clearest example on film. At one point, with Martin settled into his rhythm, Davis throws a feint. Nothing real. Martin flinches anyway, visibly enough that it draws a reaction from the crowd in real time. That's the kind of reaction most fighters forget 5 seconds later. Davis doesn't. That single moment tells Davis something no jab or combination could have. Martin's hands aren't only responding to punches, they're responding to threats, which means his timing can be manipulated before a single shot is ever thrown. Against Garcia, the testing looks like offense, which is exactly why it's easy to miss. Every body shot Davis lands in rounds 3 through 5 isn't only about damage. It's a question asked with a fist. Does the guard come down to protect the ribs, or does it stay locked up top? With Santa Cruz, the test is quieter still. Davis works his jab just enough to see whether Santa Cruz adjusts his entry or keeps walking in exactly the same way he always has. He keeps walking in exactly the same way. That's the confirmation Davis needed. Not that Santa Cruz would eventually make a mistake, but that his own success was the mistake, ready to repeat itself on command. And with Barrios, the test comes right before the adjustment that changes the entire fight. Davis starts catching a few jabs cleanly on the glove instead of avoiding them completely, testing his own timing on a parry before he ever commits to it as a real weapon. Once a pattern survives the test, Davis doesn't wait around for it to create an opening on its own. He starts taking options away until there's only one path left standing. Barrios is the cleanest example of this on tape. Instead of slipping or blocking the jab, Davis starts parrying it down with his rear hand on the way in. Look at what happens next. It looks like a small technical tweak. It isn't. It makes Barrios' own jab unreliable in his own hands, and he starts hesitating before throwing it at all, unsure what's waiting behind it if he commits. A jab thrown with hesitation doesn't control range anymore. It's just a punch that used to matter. Against Santa Cruz, the removal isn't one adjustment. It's 4 rounds of quiet ring generalship. Every time he presses forward, Davis nudges the angle a fraction toward the ropes instead of open space. By round 5, his exits are gone. Now every entry ends against the ropes, with nothing behind him to retreat into. With Martin, once the feint confirms how his hands react, Davis stops chasing his footwork and starts cutting off the space it depends on, pressuring corner to corner until the pivot lanes disappear. Because Martin keeps throwing at a target who won't retreat, he's spending energy the entire time. This matters because Davis knows it. He admitted afterward that standing in front of Martin and absorbing some of that work was deliberate, a way to make Martin tire himself out solving a problem that was never actually there. And against Garcia, the removal is the bodywork itself. Every shot that lands doesn't just hurt, it makes keeping the guard up high a losing bet, even though Garcia never consciously adjusts to fix it. Punish. Everything up to this point is invisible to most viewers. This is the only part anyone remembered, which is exactly the problem with judging a knockout by the punch alone. Round 6 against Santa Cruz. He presses forward one final time. Same head drop, same entry he's used all night, except now there's no space left behind him. Davis doesn't need to find the uppercut. Santa Cruz's own pressure delivers his chin directly into it. Round 8 against Barrios plays out in 2 stages. A feint toward the jab side sets up a lead right hook that drops him for the first time in his career. Then a follow-up left hand puts him down again in the same round. He survives both, but the tool that kept Davis at range for 4 rounds is already gone. Round 11, worn down, out of answers. Barrios takes a left uppercut to the body. The knockdown in round 8 gets remembered as the turning point. The real one happened 3 rounds earlier, the moment his best weapon quietly stopped being trustworthy. Round 7 against Garcia looks like a body shot ending a fight out of nowhere. It isn't. It's the exact same target Davis had been hitting since round 3. Except now, Garcia's confidence, rebuilt off a strong round 6, walks him straight back into it. And round 8 against Martin isn't really one punch. It's a left uppercut immediately followed by a straight left as his balance is still recovering. The final payment on information collected 4 rounds earlier. 4 fighters, 4 different finishing punches. On the surface, none of these knockouts look related, but run each one back through the same 5 steps and the pattern is identical every time. Read the habit. Track it until it's certain. Test it under pressure. Remove the option keeping the opponent safe. Punish what's left. Most fighters knock people out when they see an opening. Tank creates the opening first. That's why so many of his knockouts feel inevitable when you watch them back. If you want to see what happens when the trap doesn't work, subscribe for part 3. We'll break down the fights where Tank's first read was wrong. And if you're new here, you can watch our complete breakdown of Tank's fighting style on the left, where we cover the stance, distance control, power mechanics, and defensive habits that make this entire process possible.